How you wonderful folks doing? Checking in with you. Share some thoughts and about things that's going on, conversations I've seen. Today, I want to talk about. I saw a post on social media, and it raised a question, and it was a question directed to men, and the question was, could y'all date a woman with 4 baby daddies? 1, 2, 3, 4. Not fifth in this case, but if you used to watch Chappelle Show, but 4 baby daddies. Now that don't even necessarily mean 4 kids. That's just 4 baby daddies. Would you be able to do it? Could you date that woman? Now, context matters. I think if in the context, I mean, as in what stage of life are you in, or what stage of life if she's in. Just to answer the question directly, I'm married. Thankfully, I don't have to think about this kind of stuff. It's just a good conversation topic to me to think about hypothetically. Prayerfully, I never have to consider this. But let's just say hypothetically, I'm a 47-year-old divorcee, and starting over, want to continue life with somebody or whatever. Could I do it with a woman who's have 4 baby daddies? I think in this hypothetical, and I want to stress hypothetical, I think the position of our life matters. And I only say that because the only way I can probably maybe tip my head, make this face here, and see myself doing it, is if the kids are grown or almost grown, almost out the house. Because by the time I'm 48, of my children, that would be my status, where they're grown or almost grown, almost out the house. But I guess the more pressing issue is 4 baby daddies. Not necessarily having kids or even number of kids. It's just 4 baby daddies. If I was, now take that hypothetical out the way, and just again, still speaking hypothetically, if I was in that boat considering a mate, and this isn't to say a woman with kids or a woman in that situation, if that's her life, isn't deserving of love. That's not that conversation. Ain't nobody saying nobody's deserving of love. Nobody's saying this ain't about what anybody deserves or whatever. It's just, could I do it? And by and large, would it be wise for a man to do it? Just on GP, taking away the stigma of, whatever sexual stuff men place on women, rightly or wrongly. I think about it like this: a woman with 4 baby daddies, and I get with her, that's potentially 4 additional voices or 4 additional people that could potentially have a voice in how I run my house. Because as long as that man's child is in my house, he could potentially have say-so over, or interject or lend an opinion over said child. So, now, big picture, it's easier if the father isn't involved. If he's not involved at anyway, it's easier to treat that child as your own. That's a conversation between you and mom, because again, there are women who, even though the dad isn't involved and they give it to another guy, that's still her child. That's my child. You don't put your hands on my child, da da da. So you still got to deal with that, with whatever children she got anyway. But to compound that, you potentially have room for 4 additional voices to have input in your home. It's hard to manage that when we're trying to make plans. When you're thinking as a man about the total picture, taking care and provide for the whole, and then let's imagine it's a pie. Let's have a pie chart and the kids are different slices. And it's like in each slice, you got a slither of that. There's a variable within that slither, a variable you can't control, a variable that you have to acknowledge, a variable that you have to recognize in how you run and manage your home. And that to me would be the unappealing part, that there's too many voices in my house. You know, and that don't even apply to only one. That could, I mean, the four, that could apply to 1, 2, 3, whatever. You know, if she got one kid and that kid's father is very active, very influential, kudos to him. But if I see that, you know, you kind of acquiesce to his demands, even if they're reasonable, whether he ranting or raving, and you kind of, you know, not only submit to him, but submit to me, but submit to him as well, I would have a problem with that. You know, whatever happens at my house happens at my house. When the child is at his house, he could dictate what's going on over there. But at my house, this is how we move. This is how we do. This is what I believe. This is how I treat children, whatever case may be. And that's with 1. But you talk about 4 potential having to negotiate and all this kind of stuff with somebody, you know, that's just not appealing. And that's best case scenario if all 4 fathers are involved. So that potentially means, you know, you get weekends, you know, where, you know, y'all may free up some weekends because the kids are with their fathers and stuff like that. And that's if everybody's on the same schedule. It's just a lot of logistics that go into play. Okay, you got one kid who go their father once a month. You got one who every 2 weeks. You got one who's every weekend. You have one who's Tuesday through Thursday and alternating Friday. That's a lot of logistics to keep up with. It's a lot of so trying to plan family trips and stuff like that. And then, you know, if you got your own kids or whatever, you know, the potential of treating kids differently based on who's their father. You know, that's just asking for chaos. It's asking for disorder. And as a man, I don't want to speak general and say we, but at least for me, I like order. I like to know what to expect day in, day out. The sun kind of glaring, so let me move over. I like to know what to expect day in, day out. So with all these different variables come into play, you know, it unfortunately, and this ain't a slight on her. This is talk about me. That would make it unappealing, because it's too much. It's too much. You know, again, that's best case scenario, however you want to view it. Best case scenario if the fathers are involved. Now, if the dads aren't involved, let's say of the 4, only 1 is really active. The other 3, you know, maybe she get child support and that's it. So you kind of can have free reign to dictate that. Hold on, let me adjust myself here. This sun is really a doozy. But anyway, let's say 3 out of the 4 or just whatever, you know, or all 4, you know, none of the fathers are involved with all 4. I guess in the dating part and the getting to know you part, that's where I would kind of be like, okay, so I guess, to be frank, I guess this would be kind of a judgment on her. You know, you having kids with you having kids, okay, but the caliber of dudes you're having kids with will raise a concern for me. You know, and then am I the cleanup guy? Am I just the nice guy you taking advantage of? Because you know, let's just say in this scenario, I'm not them. I'm not like them. I'm wired differently. I'm more responsible, all that kind of stuff. Are you just using me as for stability? Am I the cleanup guy? You know, it's fair to start questioning. Okay, so maybe she's not the best decision maker when it comes to mate or who she lends her body to. You know, I will feel less special, but have more responsibility. You know what I mean? it would be hard to be with that woman because, and as the stories get fleshed out, you know, and it's like, oh, and then if the story gets fleshed out and a part of the story or too frequent the story is, y'all wasn't even in a relationship, y'all was just hooking up, and you having their babies, and you're left holding the bag. Maybe, you know, now possibility by the time you reach me, you're more mature, but you know, your actions catch up with you. They do. Your actions can hinder you from stuff, and not just in a relationship aspect, but just in life in general. You know, our decisions have weight. Our decisions, you know, it plays a role, man. And so, big picture, just the whole scenario, just as a man, if she's in a stage of still actively raising children, it would be unfortunately for me, and honestly, I'm gonna be real, I'm gonna say for most men, I will say that's a hard no. You'll have to pass on that, you know, especially if you have options out there that aren't as chaotic as that. You know, options where you can run your house and you're the single solid leading voice in your home. Your children are under your command with no other input. As from a father perspective, with no other input. That's ideal. Now, at 39 years old, let's say hypothetically I was single at 39 years old, chances are you probably gonna meet a woman or get with a woman who does have at least one. At 39 years old, you probably already have one, or at least one. So it's a lot of blending that would be going on anyway. But you still have options as far as how you're blended, and how many variables you allow in. You know, because it come down to control at the end of the day, and you can't control everything, but when it comes to your home, your household, try to control as much as you can. So a woman with 4 baby daddies, and let's just say the kids 11, 9, 7 and 5, or 7 and 3, whatever, they still young, so there's still some raising to go. And dads are active, or it's a mixture of active or inactive, or sometimey. So that's different court orders, there's different child support orders, there's different visitation, there's different custody arrangements or agreements, there's different, just the logistics of that. You know, on top of, kids can get spoiled, and you know, they reach that age where they smelling themselves, as the old folks used to say. You ain't my daddy, and 4 of them tell you that. Oh, you know, it's almost like, okay, say she was married and had her 4, or had 4 from one guy, and relationship ain't work out, the marriage failed, or whatever case may be, or he died, which is part of, you hate to speak death on anybody, but part of which is the most optimal situation. The father died. Okay. But, you know, circumstances do matter. And when you're out there trying to date, trying to find a mate, trying to find somebody suitable for you, you know, I go with the side of least amount of chaos. Everybody bringing something. Everybody got some baggage somewhere. What's the least amount they carrying onto your flight, onto your plane? You know, the same way airlines charge you for bags, check bag, carry-on bag, whatever case may be. You know, a lot of airlines, you get one carry-on for free. Any other bag, you check it. Okay, if you offering one carry-on, what's their carry-on? And then how much are those check bags? What's the weight of those check bags? You know, what's the cost of those check bags? So in this scenario, if I had a friend, and I'm just be real, if I had a friend or family member who we was having a conversation and they seeking my advice, I'd be like, bro, you can hit it, but I wouldn't be with it, you know, and that ain't the most Christian answer. That's the most man answer you gonna get, you know, without having the good Lord involved in it. But just as a matter of minimizing risk and chaos for baby daddies, that's a lot.